What's up, family? Welcome to Lust. Let us speak truth. Tonight I got Smiley. I'm sorry, Smiley. I always call you Smiley, but we got Tony in here. We got Tanya Wade. And our topic tonight, we're going to start it off with, is unconditional love a good thing or a bad thing? And I'll start with you, Smiley.
I say it depends on the situation, but as far as relationships go, I don't think it's a good thing.
You don't think it's a good thing? Why?
If you look at the reality of most relationships, we all love conditionally. Because the reason why I don't think it's a good thing to truly love somebody unconditionally is to give up a certain amount of power to that person to do any variety of things to fuck you over because there's no fear of consequence. Like, I know you never gonna stop loving me. That doesn't give me the motivation to make sure I do what I'm supposed to do in our relationship. You know what I mean? Like, if you're monogamous and you tell me you love me unconditionally, you could potentially, and I ain't saying this is gonna happen, but you could potentially be setting yourself up for a situation where I know I could go on here, slide out, get me some strange or do some extra next level bogus bullshit because I'm confident that you're not going nowhere.
But wouldn't that be a trust factor in your relationship?
That's part of it. Trust is a condition. Everything that we look for in relationships are all conditions. We don't look at it that way, but that's really what it is when you break it down. Because you expect something from your partner. If your partner starts to lack in that area, you put yourself in a situation where now your relationship could potentially be in jeopardy because they're not meeting their requirements. Now, love, it's the emotion itself. Obviously, it's not like an on-off switch. You know what I mean? It ain't like, okay, I love you. I found out you did some bullshit, and now I don't. It's going to take time for that emotion to fade, but love can turn to hate pretty quick. I mean, so everything in a relationship, if you really look at it, is all conditions.
And Tanya, what do you say about that?
My point of view is that I don't totally agree with you, Smiley, on that, because unconditional love is a good thing versus dysfunctional love. Now, when I look at unconditional love, I think in a more spiritual manner. You know, God gives us all unconditional love, so he extends that love so we can extend it to others. Unconditional love also means that partner, you and him, are very supportive of one another. It's a second love language that goes unnoticed. It's about it's without attachment. You know, it's not looking for anything in return. That's unconditional love. You know.
Right.
So in your relationships, if your partner is not performing in the way that you need them to, whether it be emotional, spiritual, mental, financial, whatever the case, if they're consistently not performing, would that potentially be a situation where your love could fade?
Performance and doing loving someone is completely different. You know, I can have expectations of a person. You know, I think we all can. But when we feed so much into it and with expectancy, then you're not going to always get a good return. However, if you love me unconditionally, you're going to do the right thing. You know, we're going to be there for one another without an attachment.
I mean, but that's kind of what that is.
With an attachment?
I mean, when you're doing the right thing for your partner or your spouse, well, not even just doing the right thing, just in a relationship, we all have certain expectations. We all have deal breakers. We've had that conversation, right?
Right.
We all have deal breakers. Those deal breakers are conditions. Again, that's not necessarily to speak to the love itself because it's not an on-off switch. But those breaking those deals or not meeting those conditions create the circumstances where love fades.
Okay, so my question to you, Smiley, is you're married, and if your wife says, I love you so much, I love you unconditionally, you would take advantage of her words or her feelings? Because for me, if you love somebody unconditionally, it's a positive thing unless it becomes toxic. And like for me,
but if it's truly unconditional, it wouldn't matter.
Right. So how do you know if it's truly?
But that's my point. I don't think that in relationships, I think the only relationships where true unconditional love exists is that love between a parent and a child.
Mm-hmm.
There's almost nothing that your child can do to cancel out the love you have for them. Your partner can do that. Your partner can cancel out your love. Your child, that's the hard one. Like, you got motherfuckers who kids been out here on some serial killer shit, and they gonna show up to that jailhouse and visitations and sending cookies. They gonna show up every moment because that is true unconditional. Because there's nothing that child can do to remove their parents' love. With relationships, it's a little different because relationships start and end every day. Mm-hmm. I think unconditional love then became a catchphrase. But I think that's the case with a lot of the phrases that people throw around today. We don't actually look at the definitions of the words. You know what I mean? It's just one of those nuances in language. You know what I mean? So true unconditional love, like I said, for me, I don't really see it in relationships because relationships is fragile. Those can end off of anything, but because those things ended, there was a condition that wasn't met. Every relationship you've ever been in that you decided, you know what, I'm done here. It was because of a condition that wasn't met. I don't think conditional love is a bad thing because it is a way to hold your partner accountable because they know that they have something to lose. Mm-hmm. That's one of the reasons why I wouldn't take advantage of her because I know that there are conditions. Since I know my conditions, I know my boundaries, I know my parameters, I know to stay inside that box. Mm-hmm. I mean, that's the thing that I think motivates a lot of people to do right is because they understand the conditions. Mm-hmm. And they sign up for it. Just like that one episode we did, terms and conditions. Mm-hmm. Those are conditions.
I feel like I just went through a contract.
I mean, but if you think about it, go ahead.
Let me say something. Unconditional love is a very good thing. Unconditional love is what we should have for everybody across the board. Now, because we don't live in a perfect world, do we all exhibit that? No, we do not. But should we? Yes, we should. Mm-hmm. So there is a line, there is a thin line. I guess you can say there's a thin line between love and hate or whatever the case may be. You know, there is expectations that we put up on each other, even ourselves. Mm-hmm. So we end up breaking the contract that we set before ourselves. Right. But again, unconditional love that. No, unconditional love is not that. It's how one may look at it and how one may define it.
And that to me is the question, how you define it. Because
I'm a literal person. So when I use words, like I have a lot of conversations. Remember the thing I sent you the other day with the sexual rejection post or whatever? Mm-hmm. How the girl called me a misogynist, right? Mm-hmm. Based on the stuff that I was saying to her. Mm-hmm. So what I did was I pulled up the definition of misogyny. Mm-hmm. I'm literal when it comes to words. They have meanings for a reason. So when I look at the term itself of unconditional, and I think about what that word actually means, it means the lack of conditions. There's no conditions needed. Just like the relationship with your parent and the child. Like, my kid doesn't need to meet any conditions in order for me to love them.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody else, you can fuck this up.
Right.
You can disintegrate the love I have for you based on your actions. But that in and of itself is a condition. I don't think the conditions are bad. I think it gets bad when the conditions are unrealistic. That's when I think that becomes bad.
Right. Oh, see, women and men think differently when it comes to unconditional love. See, so this is, I love this because we're learning. We're learning each other, how each other think, and with that, let me go to my next question. How far would you go for your spouse?
For me, it depends. It really, really depends. I mean, what is my spouse asking me to do?
Like, for instance, would you kill for your spouse? Would you disassociate yourself from family and friends for your spouse? Or would you take your spouse over your children? Would you steal or lie from them for them?
Well, number one, I've always said I am too pretty to go to prison. So so murdering somebody is not going to happen. Stealing is not going to happen. Far as with the children type of thing, because children, it really depends. It really depends. It depends on what's been said. So repeat that question again for us, the children.
Would you disassociate yourself from family, friends, or your spouse, or would you take your spouse over your children?
No. Disassociating, no. Then the relationship becomes dysfunctional. Then there's attachment. There's condition. No, I don't live by conditions. You love me. And no, I love you that much that I'm not gonna help you do a crime. I'm gonna tell on you. I'm gonna tell on you. If anything, I'm gonna tell on your ass. Especially if they put a reward out there. Don't put a reward on a black man's head, because I'm telling. I'm telling.
Smiley, what do you say on that?
That was a lot to process.
She said, if you put a reward, I'm telling.
I'm telling.
I would say for me, I think it depends too. What's the circumstances behind what's being asked?
Mm-hmm.
You said, would I kill for my spouse?
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, depending on the circumstances, absolutely.
What if she makes up a lie and you don't know it's a lie and it's about another person, but not her directly?
I mean, you still do your due diligence. I'm not going to go in nothing blindly.
Mm-hmm.
But like if she just came home one day, babe, I want you to go and whack this dude. Oh, hey, time out. Flag on the play. What you talking about?
Flag on the play.
But if we out somewhere together and shit go left, and I feel like she in danger, I'm working everything around.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Like I carry all the time. Mm-hmm. I convinced her to carry it. Like I done bought her a couple guns. You know what I mean? Because I'm protective. Like that's always been me. So my wife, my kids, my sisters, like, yeah, there's few people in my life. Yeah, absolutely. I will catch a body for.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not just gonna do it on a whim just because you said so. I ain't no point and shoot kind of dude.
Right.
Like, hey, I don't like him. He said something smart to me. So I'm finna run down on him with the chopper out. Nah, I ain't doing that.
Right. What about to your spouse over the children?
Young kids, once the kids become adults, a lot of that just depends on the nature of that relationship. You know what I mean? Like kids, eventually they grow up, they get their own minds, they start to do whatever, they feel like they want to do with their life, right? And they have that choice. But if I have an adult child who's super dysfunctional, toxic, literally trying to mess up my relationship under the guise of, I don't want that person in your life, so you need to let them go and just keep me around. No, I'm not doing that.
Right.
You know what I mean? Because at the end of the day, I'm not big on religion, but I do believe once you get married, the whole point of that is to become one.
Right.
So for me to choose this relationship with my adult child who's dysfunctional over what's essentially supposed to be my better half, it don't make sense.
Right.
You know what I mean? I wouldn't just flat out disassociate myself from my kid, but I'm gonna put up as many boundaries as necessary. Because at the end of the day, that's my wife. That's who I chose to spend my life with. When my mama had me, she had me with the understanding that at some point I'm gonna leave the nest and go and build my own life. I have that exact same expectation with my kids. At some point, you're going to leave the nest. My wife is what's designed for me to grow old with. That's what's designed for us to go into our golden years with. Kids is gonna leave. They're supposed to.
Right.
You know what I mean?
So how would you feel if your child was endangered by your spouse, but your spouse like lied so well that you believed her and then come to find out you were wrong the whole time?
I think that's a sticky one. Because obviously if she's that good of a liar and I'm believing the story, the reality is most of us operate based on the information we got. That's pretty much how life goes. You operate based on the information in front of you.
Right.
If the information is incorrect, that's another conversation. But for the most part, that's what we all do. We operate based on what's in front of us. You do your research, you do your due diligence, you investigate, you try to find out what's going on. But it still comes back to whatever the information is that you have is going to influence your decision. So to answer the question, being that me and her have kids from previous relationships, if for whatever reason, let's say little Tony was here, and he came to me boohoo crying saying she did X, Y, and Z. Right. I know my initial instinct is gonna be on go. I'm gonna be on go mode, but that's a weird dynamic to try to navigate because it's like, man, this information that I just got put me in a situation where now I might possibly want to do physical harm to, you know what I mean, this person that I vowed to spend my life with. So I think, honestly, I have no idea how that situation would go. That's really what.
Go ahead.
I think what I would do, because I know my children really well, I can tell when my kids are lying. Women are investigators. So we investigate certain situations and certain things. There's a certain look that you may get, when your child's lying, that they're not aware of, but you are aware of. So there's certain things I can tell for myself when my children are actually lying. I know, so.
Yeah. Okay. The final question I have, this is going to be a good one. How does social media and music influence how we view relationships and love?
Social media. Social media, it can either damage or enhance your relationship. It depends on the songs you listen to and the songs that you're playing, and your motive behind the songs that you're playing. There's a song that's called Side Piece. Now, why would you play that damn song while your wife is sitting here playing Side Piece? That's going to tell me something that you got a damn side piece. So again, it can damage or enhance your relationship depending on your song and depending on your motive.
Right. See, for me, it's not music. Music it enhances because I love all music. I love, I'm with the DJ, duh. But I've been brought up with music, so it doesn't bother me with that. But what bothers me is social media. Social media can kill a relationship. Social media it can be the most innocent thing, and we see it and be like, what the hell? Social media, when it comes, I mean, look at the women out there, that cut up their bodies and be the baddies. Is that what they call them today?
Yeah,
so you got those women out there, and then, you look at yourself, and if you have low self-esteem, you feel like I need to be like that in order to get with somebody. And that's rough for today's world, especially the younger generation.
Right. I mean, the social media is very harsh. You have a platform or a variety of different personalities, different, beliefs, and this and that and the other. And so when you put them all in one room and everybody comes up with their thoughts and this and that and the other, I mean, it can really tear a person apart. With this younger generation, there has nothing. I haven't seen anything positive. As far as the music that's been played, and it's not so much of the music. It's what that person put in that music. You know what I mean? Not the artist itself themselves, but the person that's playing the music. So I'm all about, the whole vision and of that matter.
That's kind of like an energy stance. What's your energy look like when you're playing that song? Do you watch do you see what they're doing do they focus on the videos? Do they focus on the music? Like if they tell you, ooh, look at this video, and they're like this. Or if they're like, you know what I mean? Does that bother?
Right.
Because that doesn't bother me.
It doesn't bother me at all, but I am an old school girl. I love old school music, Freddie Jackson, Ron Isley, stuff like that. That's music that I can appreciate. The music could not so much. Not so much.
Well, you don't like body, yada, 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 yada.
I don't even understand half of that stuff they be saying.
Oh, man. What's your take, Smiley, when it comes to social media and relationships?
So I think anything media related has the power to influence culture and trends, right?
Uh-huh.
So when you forget social media and music for a second. Just think about advertisements, right?
Mm-hmm.
A lot of these advertisers spend billions of dollars every year on commercials, sending ads on YouTube, sending ads to the house, like whatever ad they can come up with. They spend billions of dollars every year on this one, right? Mm-hmm. So the question you got to ask yourself is, would they spend that kind of money if it was ineffective?
No.
Right?
Absolutely not.
So when you think about the power of influence of media, right? Little side story. When Pliers first came out, he dropped the Real Testament, right? Mm-hmm. That summer, the murder rate in Florida shot up. Right? It's not that murders wasn't happening, but that music played with that crowd, influencing those moods. It's some powerful stuff. Now, when I was still rapping, when people would talk about how music influenced kids and this, that, and the third, I ain't want to hear none of that. I'm a rapper. What you mean? Mm-hmm. We heard shit growing up. You know what I'm saying? Like I used to listen to it, but I had a reality check happen. Something hit me close, hit real close to home. Mm-hmm. And when I saw it, it was just like, it hit me like a bag of bricks. Like, oh, this shit really does play a factor, right? So I told my kids something some years ago. I tell it to my nephew and everything. Like, all the kids I talk to, I tell them this all the time. Mm-hmm. Your entertainment is like a diet for your mind, right? So whatever it is you consuming, eventually manifest somewhere, some way. It's not gonna show up the same way in every person. Some people gonna hear, like I know people right now who ain't got a gangster bone in their body. But all they do is listen to gangster rap, right? They not finna go out and do nothing. But them listening to this day in, day out, it started to show up in how they dress. It started to show up in how they talk, the lingo they use, where they want to go hang out at. You know what I mean? It started to show up because just like putting food into your body, if you eat a whole bunch of unhealthy all the time, eventually it shows up somewhere in your body. It might not even be a visible thing. Right. You might have clogged arteries. You know what I'm saying? Versus you eating something healthy, you get a different result, right? So when it comes down to the music and social media, I watch today. And it's not about me just picking on the kids of the day, because if I'm going to be honest, it did happen with us. When we saw Run DMC with them Adidas suits, what did we want to do? When gangster rap came out and everybody was talking about being gangsters and thugs and dope boys, I watched the teenagers of that time chase that. So with the music,
the way the media is, it's always been happening. We just didn't have social media the way we have social media today. And so everything is seen. Everything is displayed. Everything, but it's always been there. It's just
always been there.
Media displays it so much.
What social media did is it sped up the process. Because now you have access to content at a young age that you typically wouldn't have had. Like when I remember the first tape I bought, tape.
Shut up, I had an
The first tape I bought, Bone Thugs and Harmony, East 1999 Eternal. Back then, when I tried to go and buy that tape, I couldn't get it. I wasn't old enough to buy the music. Somebody had to be an adult and go in and buy it. That don't happen today because everything is at our fingertips.
Unless you had Columbia House and lied about your age.
You know what I mean? So social media just makes this way worse because right now, social media got a way of convincing masses and on misinformation. Right. Like it got like an unmatched power to sway trends. And I watch it happening all the time. When I see kids talking, I'll hear them use language that I know ain't normal for their age range. And I can damn near pinpoint who you following based on what you're saying. Because as this 14, 15, 16-year-old kid is talking, what I'm hearing is the celebrities that's in their 20s who got all the influence. Like you said, what's the term today? Baddies.
Yeah.
That right there. When I start hearing the kids talk about I'm trying to be a baddie, or the boys talk about I'm trying to be a real nigga, that is a byproduct of the power.
Go ahead. I'm sorry, for the power of what?
I say that's just a testament to the power of media in general, but music and social media in particular. Like with the movies, I don't really see it as much with movies. You know what I mean? Like I've never been to school and seen somebody show up dressed as their favorite actor. I ain't never seen that.
Wait, you never wanted to be Scarface?
I mean, of course. I grew up in the 80s. So we had that. Like everybody I know had a Scarface poster.
I still got them.
We idolized that. But you got to keep in mind, we grew up in the 80s. We grew up in the crack era.
Yeah.
So anything drug dealer related back in them times, we idolized these dudes. Whether it was made sense to do it or not, we did.
So I got a question. If you guys had a classroom of adults and children, and you had to think of a solution for the way they think when it comes to media, social media, and what would you tell them?
I don't have good views for social media. You know, my daughter is not allowed to be associated with any social media. You know, kids these days' minds are very frail.
That's
and
what,
they pick up.
that's one thing that you say, Tanya, how your daughter doesn't have any social media. Do you think she sees social media though?
Do I think she's what? I'm sorry.
Do you think that she sees the social media, even though you don't let her have an account?
Most definitely she sees social media. I mean, there's no way around it. I can keep her from it because she goes to school, high school kids, she got friends, yada, 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 yada. It's certain things I won't allow in my house. It's certain things that I keep her grounded in, you know. And plus, by the way, I mean, she's not really interested in that social media thing at all, you know. So, you know, I just let it, you know, just let her know, honey, you know, there's things out there. I mean, I can't keep everything from her. I would like to as a parent, and I would like to have that opportunity without the world trying to come in and raise my kid by teaching them something that I don't want them to know. But unfortunately, I can't avoid that.
Right. See,
You know?
I'm the type of parent, I'm very, very open with my children, very open. I'm honest with them. They learn things at a young age. I tell them if they have questions, come talk to me. I'm going to keep it real with you. You're going to learn from me, not from the streets, not from your friends. You're going to learn from me. So all my kids were able to come to me at a young age and tell me, you know, Mom, what is this? And sometimes I'd be like, hey, where'd you learn that?
Exactly. Right.
I'd be stumped and I'd be like, I need some help here. Help, you know. And I'd get like either my brothers or a male friend, because I have two sons. And then my daughter, we vibed. Like I was able, she came to me with a lot of stuff, but a lot of stuff she hid because she wanted to protect me. She didn't want me to view her a certain way.
Right.
Was too scared to come to me with it. So she just followed her friends. And that, you know, my oldest son too, they've done some things that, well, I don't want to tell mom because I don't want her to think that I'm a bad person, or I don't want her to think that, I don't want her to make her mad.
Right. Right.
And in my mind, I'm like, you will never, you can make me mad, but I'm never going to look at you a different way. But I want you to come to me and ask me. Don't learn off the streets because your friends do not know. They're your age. And so again, if you had a classroom to teach, what would you say to them? Because that's what I would say. Like, if you want knowledge, if you want information, seek it from various people. Don't just learn from one person. Don't just go on social media and try to learn something, because the social media can teach you some negativity. Social media teach you, there is some social media stuff that is positive, such as when people post like their family or different positive memes and they follow the positivity of it. That's one thing, but I'm sorry, Instagram is nothing but photos and videos. And when you see all these people twerking and grinding and doing all this and that, and your kids are watching that, it's like, I mean, Ronell has an Instagram. I allowed him he's 11 years old, but he is not allowed to show his face, and I monitor it. And then if I see, and he has a TikTok. So if I see something on there and I'm like, I go through the history.
Right.
The histories. I don't care what you're showing me today. I'm going through your history. And it's positive. But I know I kind of went to the left with that. But if you had a classroom in your presence right now, what would you teach them, or what would be your solution to social media? Would you say get off it, or would you say, how would you help them?
I don't know if you can get completely off of it, because like I said, kids are going to find a way. You know, I don't allow my daughter to do social media, but that's not to say that she's not looking at social media at school, you know, these TikToks and this and that and the other. It's all about how you raise your kids, you know, and what you teach them, what you instill in them, you know, that those things that what you instill in them, they'll never depart from it. You know, so they will know the difference between right and wrong.
So it starts from home in your household. It starts from home.
It starts at home.
And what would you do, Smiley, if you had a classroom in front of you, kids and adults, about social media?
I mean, pretty much it's the same stuff I tell everybody anyway, but the reality is I can teach the class and I can have these conversations. It don't necessarily mean that the lesson is going to be taken.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I'm not just battling with your mindset. I'm battling with the mindset of everything you follow on social media. So if you following somebody on social media who talks to you about being weary of people trying to kind of steer you away from it or talk about how bad social media is, if that's who they following, and then I show up talking what I'm talking, I'm not battling their mindset alone. You know what I mean? All we can do is put the information out there. To go back to the initial part of the question, how it affects relationships. My oldest daughter, not my oldest, but the little daughter, she's 23, right? And she talks to me about, I mean, her dating experiences and kind of what she got going on. And literally, the dating world, the world of dating and singles right now is different, and that's largely due to the influence of the social media. Right. You know what I mean? So it's, I can't honestly sit here and tell you I have a solution. Like, I know if you take heed to the lesson, it can benefit you. The question is, how do I get you to take heed to the lesson?
And my solution would be research. Research what you're seeing. Research what you're viewing. Research what people are saying. If you hear baddie, I'm a baddie, go research what that word means. I'm a baddie. That means I'm a hot girl. What's a hot girl? So are you naturally beautiful, or are you cut up and fixed up and lifted up and tucked and all that?
But again, that goes back to heeding the lesson.
Yeah.
You know what I mean, I'm a researcher. Like I'm digging in everything. But I know that's a me thing.
Yeah.
If you're not the researcher type, somebody telling you to do research, you like, man, I ain't trying to hear that. Because you gotta keep in mind, this the microwave generation. We thought we was the microwave generation. We not. What's going on right now? This is the microwave generation, because that's the reason why. Remember that shit Vine? Like the 6-second videos. Collectively, our attention spans are shorter now.
Yeah.
So when you tell you go do research, you're like, man, that's work. I'm not gonna do all that. That's how a lot of these people think nowadays. And not just the kids, just everybody.
Yeah, that's how you spoke of before, communication versus comprehension. And that's something that a lot of people, you can communicate anything, but how they comprehend it is another thing.
Well, if you don't comprehend, you don't know it. That's always been my analogy. If you don't comprehend it, then you don't know it.
So how do you find out? So if someone's teaching you something and you don't understand it or know it, how do you go find out?
How do I find out? Or
yeah, like if I was telling you something, okay, we're gonna reverse that because you know big words and I don't. But if you let's say you said something to me and I was like, I don't know what she means. And you say, look it up. Because that's how Tanya teaches. Look it up. That's the only way I'm gonna understand it, if I go research it and look it up. Because I don't understand what you're saying at that moment. And so
the way I do things is that, everybody has a certain level. You know what I mean? So I meet that person where they are. So if I need to say Google it or go look it up, and most likely I would always say look it up. So you can understand the definition of it. You know, so you're able to use that word accordingly. You know, so that's how pretty much, you know. And then too, I try to teach in scenarios.
Right.
Scenarios. I love scenarios.
That's a good thing. Scenarios work because we are old. I'm not gonna say we old, but we're an older generation that can teach young folks with scenarios. Like Smiley, I learned a lot off you with scenarios. This man has so many damn stories. I'd be like, sir, wait, what happened? Who did what? You know, but it was all good. And because he's a thinker, you know, and that's one thing that I did like about him when he would tell his stories. You know, we had, you know, Tanya, just so you know, we had, well, Smiley's best friend, he had passed away. And this man was a storyteller. So when you get those two together, I was like, I learned about, I'm not even going to tell you what I learned about. I learned about a lot of things, you know. I learned about a lot of things to where I didn't even know, like, but it was my comprehension at the time. Like, I didn't understand what you're telling me. So they were giving scenarios of what it was. And I was like, oh, shit. Okay. You know, and I got it. So,
but you got to keep in mind the thing that kind of stand out with that is you had the desire to know.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And that's the battle we fighting. It's not just the ability to teach. It's trying to figure out the way to inspire the desire.
Good one.
How do you make them want to know? Because you can teach all day. You got some awesome teachers that sitting in these classrooms and in these colleges, and they awesome teachers, magnificent educators. But if they have a student who's not interested in learning it, how do you fix that? Because the information is here. The information is out there, and there's ways to get access to it.
You know
what? How do you inspire the drive to it?
If I was that teacher with that child in my class, I would have a conversation with that person to find out what they like. And I would specifically make that class dedicated to that person. You know what I mean? Like if he likes, he or she likes, let's just say Run DMC, and they only can learn from Run DMC lyrics. I'm going to write a rap of how that child likes to think. And I'm going to try to rhyme it in class to get that person's attention. So the thing is, follow up with that student of what is their idea? What do they want? What's in their head? And like put yourself in their shoes and try to vibe with them personally.
Exactly. And that's very important because, you know, myself, you know, I have an autistic daughter. And so I write up all the ways that best teach her how to learn. And I always adapt. I always tell the teachers to adapt to her. You know, you get a lot, just adapt to her. If she loves to sing, then do some singing things to get her to do what she needs to do. You know, I taught her, it's amazing that we taught her when Barack was the president, and the school had said to me, see, we were teaching her days of the month and who was the president and her address and the county she lived in. Well, the school said that they couldn't do this within 3 months. I went home on that weekend and she learned it doing music in one weekend. So it's all about adaptation and listening, having your active listening skills and looking at and understanding your students.
Right.
You know,
and I will bring social media into that because look at the teachers today, how they do like their own claps when they walk in the classroom or their hugs or something to defining what the other kids want. And they individually do something before they walk in the class.
Yeah.
Or you got a math teacher that is rhyming the numbers and all the classes vibing with it because, oh, my teacher can read. You know, you got to vibe with what they want in order to educate them. Because if you're just a regular, not just a regular teacher, I'm not going to say that because teachers are great and I love them. But if you are a standard teacher, like how we grew up, kids now are going to fall asleep. They're not going to listen. Some.
Right.
Not all.
So in terms of us teaching the class about social media, I think a lot of it still come back to fighting the collective mindset of whatever it is that they follow. You got to keep teaching somebody math. You can get creative on how to teach somebody math, right? Start rhyming, come up with the handshake. But when you're trying to teach them away from the thing that they enjoy, because like there's something that they've done studies on. I have to do some research to figure out the name of it. But they study. Matter of fact, while I'm thinking about it, y'all ever heard of a documentary called The Social Dilemma?
No, I haven't.
I don't know if it's still on Netflix, but it's a Netflix documentary. I hope it's still up there. But in that documentary, they interviewed all of the people, the presidents, CEOs, designers, engineers from Facebook, Snapchat, Google, Instagram, TikTok. They interviewed all of them, and they showed just how sinister social media is, right? To the point where they hire neurologists, like people who study the brain, psychology, psychiatry, like they study how to maximize your engagement by pulling at certain triggers.
Right.
You know what I mean? And if you think about it, a lot of that correlates. You look at the fact that you got so many more teenagers battling depression and anxiety, committing suicide. You got this happening at a rate that we ain't never seen before. A lot of that is because of social media being an addiction. So you know how it is trying to convince somebody who's addicted to something to not do the thing that they're addicted to.
Right.
You know what I mean? That's what we actually battling.
I got one question. Have you ever looked at your child's Facebook or social media and see how much time they spend on it?
Well, again, like I said, my child doesn't have that Facebook. However, you know what? She did have that Instagram, but she snuck on that Instagram under an assumed name. But what she did was she showed her face. So
and that's what I was telling you, Tanya. That's the thing. She's on it. She's going to get on it. She's going to learn it. She knows it.
Yeah.
Even though you ban it from home, she's going to find out. She's going to see it. She's on it. She's going to find friends from it. She's going to have followers. You just don't know she's on it because she has a name, a different name.
Right.
On my youngest girl, when she was in 6th grade, I think I told y'all some of this story before, but she got caught doing something she wasn't supposed to do with the phone. So we snatched the phone. I think she created a Snapchat or something. So we took the phone, like, nah, we're not doing that, right? Because I'm like, I don't want you on social media. I see what social media do to people. I don't want you on there. You're not mature enough and mentally strong enough to handle what social media throws you. Because what social media essentially does is it throws the entire adult world at these young minds.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? I'm like, I don't want you on there, right? So she lost her phone, she lost the TV, she lost the radio. We knocked her back to the dark ages. She was in the dark ages almost all of 6th grade, right? Because we didn't allow it. No, we're not playing that game. During that time frame, we found out she had 2 Instagram accounts, another Snapchat got created, like, because the kids, based on the trends pushed by social media, as long as, matter of fact, I'm gonna show y'all just how powerful it is. Do you remember the crate challenge?
Yes.
The who?
A crate challenge.
No, see, I'm not on social media like that, but.
So basically what it was, them little plastic milk crates, what people was doing was stacking them up in like a pyramid and seeing if they can walk all the way to the top of it and all the way back down without falling, right? Back when we was growing up, all it would have took was one person to do it and fall and bust their ass, and everybody was like, "No, we ain't doing that." But because this challenge culture with social media, if you can think of anything you want to do, if you put challenge behind it, instantly you finna have a huge portion of the population trying to participate with whatever that is. And that's not just the kids. I'm watching adults create hospital bills because they fallen down so hard. If social media has the power to influence the adults like that,
Right.
Well,
what are we doing with the kids?
Here's the thing. Social media, just like you said, how they do the challenge or whatever, and let's say they fall and they bust their ass, they put themselves on YouTube, they put themselves on Instagram, TikTok, they get all these views.
Likes and followers.
Look, now they're getting paid because they have so many views and followers.
That brings it all the way back to how do you teach that out?
Get in that person.
Because at this point, you're not just saying like, okay, hey, this is a thing that you probably shouldn't do. You should kind of steer away from it, or at least, view it a certain kind of way. Because once they get access to social media and they start to see these kids doing this stupid shit,
right,
based on likes, and that's their metric now.
Yeah.
That's their metric.
Yeah.
People will take pictures and they'll post it. If it don't get enough likes in the first 5 minutes, they'll take it down. And that's one of the things that they cover in that. They cover that in that documentary. They actually cover it. They had people studying the brain to figure out exactly how to find your pain points.
Right.
Like they got this, they call it the algorithm, right? Some people don't believe in it. I do. I got multiple Facebook pages, right? So my old page is full of all of the hood shit, all of the ratchet shit, the twerk videos, the fight videos, gang shit. You know what I'm saying?
His Facebook is.
Hey. That's the old one. That's the old one, right?
Right. I'm playing.
I didn't realize until I created my new page, the Malik Shabazz, and I curated that page a certain way to kind of shift the information that I was getting shown.
Right.
So when I log into this page, I see a lot of Black history. I see a lot of uplifting, educational. I mean, I share some funny stuff, but it's a lot of pro-Black stuff on that page and on my timeline, because that's the stuff that I pay attention to. On the old page, I paid attention to the ratchet bullshit. So that's what Facebook was like, oh, he likes this. Show him more of that, right?
Yes. They send you, you may like this, or you may know people in the caliber of the people that you're watching. You know, so that is true.
So when you think about just how they got this stuff designed, like perfect example is Kevin Samuels, right? This dude shot the stardom, skyrocketed. Not because of what he was saying to men. He had been talking to men for years,
right?
But men didn't really they didn't react the way the women did, right? So the thing that he kind of banked on, and what made him, is the fact that he pissed women off. Here's the thing about how social media works with that factor. If you make women mad, they don't be like, oh, I don't want to see this shit, and scroll past it. They jump in the comments. They finna start talking. The fuck is you talking about? How dare you? Guess what you just did? You just told that particular social media app, this is what you respond to. So guess what happens then?
You're gonna get all the
start to see more and more and more and more. Because now not only are you mad, you so mad that you're gonna share it to all of the women you know. You're gonna get so mad and then share, like literally.
And it's the
women's anger built his empire. Women's anger built his empire because they fell for the social media trap. On my TikTok right now, the second I see something I know I don't like, I know I don't agree with, I know it's gonna piss me off, I don't scroll past it. I immediately go to that person's page and block it. Instant.
Right.
Because I don't want that particular app to think this is what I want to see, because social media is tricky.
Say that again. Say that again for the children and the younger youth in this world that are going to watch this. What do you do?
Oh, as soon as I see something I don't like, I immediately block the person who posted it.
Because then the trap won't start.
Because I won't give it no energy.
Mm-hmm.
So right now, my TikTok is all music, comedy, and uplifting.
Mm-hmm.
That's the vast majority of the stuff I see come across my For You page. Because I've made sure, because I got to a point when I first got on, I was responding to shit.
Mm-hmm.
And I had to kind of, I had a V8 moment. Like, well, what you doing?
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Like, no, stop feeding into it. I got a homeboy, he'll call me because he'll see some anti-black man shit coming from women and get mad and be in the comments. And he started seeing more and more of this, right?
Mm-hmm.
I put up a post, I want to say 3 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
I said, y'all really got to be careful on how you use this social media shit because it will trick you. Social media will have you hating an entire demographic of people based on what a fraction of what that demographic actually thinks, because it's just an echo chamber. But because you responded to what that echo chamber was talking about, you get to see more of that echo chamber. And if you're not paying attention, you will think that that's what that entire group thinks. It happens with men and women, gay and straight, religious, non-religious, pro-gun, anti-gun, you name it. If it's a line in the sand where it could be a us versus them conversation, if you see something from them and you respond to it, what's going to happen is you're going to start to see more and more. So if I'm a black man who saw a black woman put up a post saying, this is an actual post on TikTok. A woman came on TikTok and was like, black men, she was talking to black women, said, we are divesting from black men. We're done with them, right? If I would have responded to that, that would have taught that particular app to show me more of that content. And if I'm not careful, I'll just start getting into this headspace. Damn, black women really don't fuck with us.
Right.
Which would have me starting to act out toward black women. And then based on my content, I piss off some black women, and then they start to see more of that, and it create this ping pong effect. It's
that's
feed
exactly
into
what
it.
happened with the Kevin Samuels guy. You're right. That's exactly
what I mean.
They only showed
so like,
and people were getting pissed off at his clips, and I'm like, go watch the whole show. I got hated on, tell you the truth, because I liked the guy, because I thought he spoke his truth. Now, his approach and tactic was kind of raw, and some people can't handle that. So you have to learn a different tactic. So that's one thing.
Honestly, I don't even think that he needed to learn a different tactic, because every tactic works for an audience.
Yeah, but
every tactic works for an audience.
But I'm talking about as far as, okay, so you have those caliber of women that contacted him, and then all of a sudden he's like, okay, you want this guy, so he makes triple digits or $1 million man, whatever. And what size are you? How much do you weigh? What do you do for a living? And they're telling him, oh, I'm a stripper, I make money, or I just opened a business and I'm financially stable and I could offer him this. They're already a millionaire. So they don't need your money. So what can you really offer him? So I get that part. I get that part.
So basically, like
clips.
But again, that's the thing. Like, had he did a different approach, he wouldn't have got as big as he did. His approach is what actually made his career.
Here's his approach built sponsorships.
So you see my point. Every approach you can use in any conversation works for a group. Everybody, I don't care how nice you say it. Yeah. There's a group that's going to respond, and then there's a group that's going to be like, man, we don't really care.
Right.
That's no matter what the conversation is or how you present it.
Right.
Because if you look at Kevin Samuels, him pissing black women off built his career, right? The same thing happened in reverse for Derrick Jackson. He told black women exactly what they wanted to hear, and that built his career. You know what I mean?
Okay.
Because
I'm gonna speak my truth. Who is that?
Derek Jackson, he is the antithesis of Kevin Samuels. Like, dude got famous pretty much by making these videos, essentially telling Black women, you have no fault, you can do no wrong. If something went wrong in a relationship, it's definitely his fault.
And he failed. His YouTube
Oh
failed.
no, oh no, he blew up.
Oh, okay. Okay.
He blew up. And because of his talking, because of his rhetoric, because of how he spoke. And this will go back to the conversation about the power of social media. You had this huge population of women who follow his page religiously, to the point where some of them are ending the relationships they have with their boyfriends.
Wait, what's his name?
Derek Jackson. I guarantee you, when you find this dude, you're gonna call me and be like, bro, what the fuck?
Derek Jackson, and he's opposite of
Kevin Samuels.
Now, here go the cold part about it, right? A lot of dudes was telling the women in their life, stop listening to that motherfucker, dude, a con artist. Here's a shakedown artist. Y'all falling for it. We telling you, this is some bullshit. Because he making his money. He getting all his bread and butter, not by telling the truth, by telling women what they wanted to hear. You have no fault in this. If it went sideways, it was on him. You see what I'm saying? And they was eating it up. Well, if your man ain't doing this, then you need to drop him because you deserve. And they go, yes. They did snapping the fingers and all of that type of shit.
Right.
I showed before he got big, I showed them videos to Ari. And I'm like, I'm not going to say what I think about nothing. What I want you to do is you listen to it for yourself and then tell me what you think.
And that's one positive thing that I will say. Have them listen, have them soak up the knowledge, point them in the right direction, and then get word of what they think. That's how you teach that class that I was telling you about earlier.
Oh, look, I don't have an issue with that part. My whole thing was, again, it all comes back to battling the addiction. That was a very specific topic in that situation. But if we talk about social media as a whole, that's what we battle. We fighting addiction. You see, you know what I'm saying, Uncle so-and-so with that crack pipe, you can tell them all day, man, that's bad for you, man. That's gonna fuck your life up, man. You're gonna lose your house, you're gonna lose your car, you're gonna lose your family, your looks gonna fade, you're gonna get craters all in your face, you're gonna be willing to do some foul shit, chasing behind that. But he already like this.
Right.
You think he's gonna listen? I like this.
Right.
You can't tell me not to do the thing that I like to do. I don't care what the consequences is. So that's why I say the level of creativity to teach somebody on how to responsibly use social media, or at least acknowledge that it has that kind of power. That's the battle we fight.
Right.
But when you check out this Derek Jackson dude, like
I'm gonna look him up. So y'all, go ahead, Tanya.
The same thing we frowned on is the same thing that we look at it hiddenly. You know what I mean?
Right.
The things that what we're not gonna do, what we won't put up with, you know, because there are some things on social media that when I look at it, I'm appalled that he was like the cousin pastor. Right. I'm appalled that he would get on here and say that.
Right.
But this man, I don't listen to him. But this man has so many followers that he cusses everybody out that he listens to. Anybody that has a negative view, he cusses them out. But this pastor has blown up big.
So what would we say to the generation today? Because that's what they're looking at. They're looking at money. I need to get my bag. I need this bag. The
stupid shit gets the most attention. And unfortunately, in the world of social media, the more attention you get, the more clicks you get, the more money you get.
Right.
So if in our generation, in our time frame, doing stupid shit, that was frowned upon. One, if you did dirt, you're not posting it. You're not you don't want nobody to know you did it.
Right.
But in the world we live in today, I've seen full-on robberies on Facebook Live.
So that's what I'm saying. So you see all this stuff and they're all about the bag. They're all about the clicks. They're all about the lives. They're all about all of that to get their bag. Your personal children, your personal friendships, stay in their head. Conversate with them. Conversate with them. Show them.
All right.
You know what I mean?
Ahead. Run that back. I had to switch my AirPod.
I said, just like how they like the clicks, the TikToks, the bag. Your personal relationships, such as your friends, your children, your family, communicate it. Talk to them. Tell them your views. Maybe they'll have another view instead of what they're just seeing out there. Teach them a positive view about.
Right.
So they're trying to get a bag off, talking shit to people. Okay, well, you do it like this. How can you connect with that person when it's a negative energy coming to them? You know what I mean? So that's something to think about. And we are going to continue this topic because I think this needs the social media. That's a thing right there.
Right, that's it. Juice.
Here's my responsibility to also say too, to keep your children well grounded within God.
Right.
Right. I wouldn't do anybody justice by not saying, God is the head of my life. And so when we teach our children spiritually, they're following spiritual things, the likeness of the Lord and this and that and the other. So I just wanted to add that in there.
Right. And I'll just say, speak your truth. I love it. Like, y'all, this topic right here, this has to continue because we got a lot to say. And I know we ain't got all night. So I'm going to cut it right here. We're going to continue this. We're going to do a part 2. And Lust, let us speak truth on YouTube.
Hey, once you do your research on Derrick Jackson, don't bring that back to part 2.
I'm gonna make it the Derrick Jackson / Kevin Samuels. Who do you agree with? And I'm gonna be famous. Oh, I'm just kidding.
Why you bullshitting? You fuck around and might talk about them too.
You better stop it.
Hey, shit.
Here we go. That's part 2. Get ready. Love y'all. And I'll holler at you later.
Love y'all. Bye.
Bye.